Aha, so we are on live. Welcome. I'm Jason Hobbs. All right, so this morning we're going to start a new process. As soon as I can get my self situated here. All right. Okay, so I'm almost awake. It's 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, and I am taking questions. Now, I don't have any questions this morning because I can't be honest and say that I have everything set up on my website for you to submit your questions yet. However, later today, I will be doing that. So the idea is very simple. If you have questions about what you want to accomplish with your website specifically, if you're looking for how to, one, create revenue, first and foremost, the first question that I ask people is this month, how much revenue is your website generating for your business? And a lot of them say 0, and then the rest of them are spread out in along the number scale, right? Low to high to mid to whatever. And the idea is very simple. Organizing your revenue around your customer is the simplest way for you to consistently create revenue for your business. It's a long-term process. It's a long-term relationship with your customer. Let me make sure. Yesterday, if you watch the replay from yesterday, my apologies. Please don't watch it unless you're just kind of checking to make sure that I'm telling the truth, because I am. I did a 30-minute episode yesterday, broadcast, and no sound whatsoever at all. Like, it's all me talking to the screen for the most part. I shared my screen a little bit so you could see that, but otherwise it's entirely me talking to you like this with no sound on my mic. My mic was muted. There's a sad song. My mic was muted for 30 minutes. Oh, and I was live broadcast. Well, obviously I didn't have viewers, but I haven't had viewers. I haven't been looking for that. I'm looking to get my act together before you show up. And, obviously some of you guys will show up later and you'll come back and just take a peek at some of the early stuff because you'll hear me talking about how bad I was. Still am. So the Q&A session is, the idea is if you have questions that you want help with, I'm giving you 30 minutes a day, 4 days a week, every week to ask them and have me answer them live so that you can view it. And then obviously it keeps a video regular so that you have the replay. If you're not able to make it live, you can still see what my answer is. And then obviously it allows me on the page on my website where I embed this video, I'm also able to include links and PDF, download, whatever I need to complete the answer to your question. Now, keep in mind, there's 3 topics that we're discussing. 1, generating revenue for your website. 2, customer experience paths. I'm creating customer experience paths for each of my businesses, each of my customers, for their customers. And it's something that I've kind of cobbled together from learning from, Copyblogger Media people and Rainmaker.fm, which is part of Copyblogger Media, as well as just going door to door for 10 years, going back to school to get my marketing degree with honors. I worked hard for that honor. So yes, I always say it, and I know it's pathetic, but I busted my butt to get there. Let's see. Okay, so number 2 is the customer experience path. So we have 1 is generating revenue online for your business through your website, really, right? Because let's face it, that's what your website is for, especially today. Everybody's online. So you need to give them opportunities to simplify their interactions with you. And that's kind of, that's obviously, that bears itself out within the other 2 things that we talk about. 1 is generating revenue. 2 is customer experience paths. 3 is organizing your marketing around your customer. It's different from the back in the day. Marketing was, the 4 P's of marketing, which were product, place or distribution, price, promotion. And a lot of people get caught up in promotion. When they say, oh, I'm going to market the crap out of my business, they're basically saying I'm going to promote the crap out of it. The thing that you have to keep in mind about marketing is, A, it's not a dark art. It really isn't. It is a legitimate business strategy, because it really boils down, for me, it's always boiled down to this. Strategy or marketing is strategy for your business. That was one of the reasons. And if you go, I'm pretty sure it's the how do I organize my marketing podcast of mine. I want to say it's episode 9, but I'm not entirely certain on that. But I do know it's the one, called How Do I Organize My Marketing? In that, I mention and link to Gregory Ciotti, the head marketer, the marketing guy for Help Scout. He proffered in 2013, it was end of 2013, late summer, something like that. He put out a post, and he broke down the 4 P's for today, which was, I call it SAVE, S-A-V-E, because you have to have a solution to a customer problem. You have to give them access to your solution. It's value instead of price. Don't, compete on price, compete on value. And also keep in mind that if someone's buying your solution, odds are at some point they're going to tick the box about price. But by no means is it going to be the key determinant of whether or not they pay you. Obviously, you can't gouge and overprice. I'm not, by any means giving you, free reign to do that, or, pushing you towards that. That's a bad idea. However, you do want to make sure that it's a profitable price point for you, because the thing to keep in mind is you're looking at a long-term relationship with these customers. And if you're looking at a long-term relationship with them and you're setting everything up along those lines, then they are also looking for a long-term relationship with you. One thing that is switching costs is very real. So like with me, I've been with Mediacom for a long time. Switching from Mediacom to another, satellite provider, or obviously if another cable company came into this area, which it ain't happening. We're literally in the middle of nowhere. Mediacom, they feel like it's basically charity, I think, to be in this area. However, if they did, the cost of switching includes what? Well, obviously there's probably going to be some, if I'm signed up for a contract with Mediacom, which I'm not, then, I could have to pay to break the contract, right? Then I may have to pay an installation fee for the new place. I may have to pay a setup fee. I may have to get on their schedule, which could leave me without service or just delay my change for a period of time. Could be days, could be weeks. I know when I switched over from Windstream over to DirecTV back in the day, oh, it was just horrible. There was a ton of switching costs associated with it. And most of it wasn't money. I mean, there was some money, that's for sure, hidden money. But the point being, you're not caring about my plight as far as switching, my Mediacom or whatever. It really boils down to when you have a customer that you're solving a problem for on a consistent basis, then there's a natural inclination to stick with you for the most part. I mean, there will be times that are going to arise, but the idea is you're in the pole position. You have you're in the driver's seat, so to speak, to keep that customer, assuming obviously that you're providing the value and that you're continuing to grow the value over the long term. Because a lot of what they're evaluating the switching costs on, it's not necessarily price, it's more, does it make it easier for me? Is it a simpler solution? Are there less steps involved in that? Are there, is there a better payout at the end? Whatever. But the idea is a lot of people associate switching costs with cash, specifically and only cash, and it's not really that case. That's not really the case, especially today with an empowered consumer and an empowered consumer who, has the internet at their fingertips. So, they're free to go and do and hire whoever they want. Obviously, there are, a couple caveats, like I was mentioning in my area, the cable companies. I don't have a whole lot of choices. I can go, satellite providers, or I can go with Mediacom. So. The first question that I want to answer is that I've come up with, but I'm guessing that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to have this same question. The first question that I have that I'm going to answer for you is, what is a customer experience path? Now, you have to understand that everyone starts out as a stranger. They don't know you, you don't know them. The idea is this customer experience path is going to educate them at their pace further into a relationship with you. So when you're out dating, if you meet someone you're interested in, then they were strangers, you've met, now you're aware of each other. It's basically, well, obviously it's mutual consent, but you make a decision at some point that, hey, I want to know more about this person. I'm interested in them. And then it could go, to where you're, committed partners. You could get married under the law. You could have kids later. You could, spend the rest of your life together, etc. And there's a lot of different potential milestones that relationship may or may not hit over the course of your life. The exact same thing applies to your business, especially when you're offering a service to humans, right? Which, I mean, 99.9 are. Don't get me wrong. Even if you're selling to a quote unquote business entity, behind the business entity, or where really the business entity in that instance is comprised of largely people, humans, right? So a lot of people talk about, well, business is personal or business isn't personal or whatever. I personally believe that business is personal, especially today. There's not a ton of opportunity that's being created in the world. There's a lot of corporations that are sticking with what they do and fighting to kind of keep the status quo more than they're looking for, creative solutions to empower a larger percentage of the human population of the world, right? And that's regardless of if you live in the US like I do, or if you live in Australia, or if you live in, Zimbabwe, or if you live in wherever, Eastern Asia, Western Europe, Eastern Europe, whatever. I think I covered most of them. South America, make sure I cover them too. But it really, it doesn't matter, right? Because today, if you have internet and you have the ability to solve a problem for a customer, you have everything you need to complete that transaction. The transaction with your customer, you have everything you need, because there's payment processors that are really simple and easy to get up and running with. PayPal is one. My personal favorite is Stripe, S-T-R-I-P-E. They're a payment processor. Typically, you get a charge on your website, payment. Somebody pays you on your website through Stripe with Rainmaker, which is what I use. It's what, 36, 48 hours on average, sometimes a little sooner, that it hits your bank account. And they have, they have, well, I mean, they have competitive rates with PayPal. I could not think of that word. It was like competitive. I couldn't think of it. Okay, so the customer experience path is how you process a transaction, but you look at it from a long-term perspective with your customer. So, and it picks up well before they become a customer, and it can run way past where they are already a customer, because there's other things that are going to happen. But the thing is, if they are a customer and they are here long term, they're still expecting value month to month, because that's how the payments are going to work. As far as with what I'm setting up, it's monthly recurring revenue. The idea being, I'm going to provide value to you and your business monthly. And part of that is going to be providing my process that I'm using to put together my offer and my business for Jason Hobbs LLC and grow it. Part of that is I'm putting together a course. Part of that is obviously the podcast that I've already kicked off. Part of it is obviously this morning, every morning, Monday through Thursday, 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m., I'm having these Q&A sessions. Now, I may do some of them where, I'll have something prepared, do a quick presentation and then go right into questions. Today, obviously, I'm just kind of babbling and trying to answer the first question, because really it's a new format for these that I knew I wanted to do these. I just didn't know exactly how they were helpful to you. And I still can't say 100% because I haven't had people using them to ask me questions yet. But obviously, that's what I'm setting up. And so today and tomorrow, I'm looking at is pretty much dry runs. Hopefully, I can get some questions answered. That's the key, right? So, start laying out some of the base, the foundational questions of what I'm doing, right? How can I be helpful to you? Well, let me answer a couple of those questions, is what I'm doing. And then the idea is that hopefully that's going to spur, excuse me, I'm allergic to something. Camera. My mom always told me that I have a face made for radio. I think she's right. So, okay, what was I? Before I sneezed. Okay. Yeah, today and tomorrow are the dry runs. And the idea is just that there has to be a structure to this. You have to understand how you can get some value out of it. And I really believe that the Q&A is going to be helpful or beneficial, because there's going to be some that will ask questions that I'll answer, pretty quickly, and then others will have a little bit more in-depth question or whatever. But the idea is that I have these, basically 4 30-minute blocks, Monday through Thursday, 30 minutes apiece, where I'm going live to answer your questions. I'm obviously videoing it so that you can come back to it on demand. But then I'm also able to answer, obviously if you ask a question and maybe I don't get to it or whatever, I'm still looking to answer. You're still going to get an answer, even if it doesn't go on here. So, definitely don't let that prevent you from submitting your question, because I'll get you an answer. And here's the thing, I don't know everything. Let's be very clear. But I am smart enough to understand that, and I'm also smart enough to help put you in touch with an answer. Here's the thing, I'm not the solution for everyone. I will never be the solution for everyone. Yes, every business needs to generate revenue, but their path to that is going to be different for many people, because I have very strong beliefs about business, about what it should do, not only for its customers, but for its employee team, its team of employees, as well as any stakeholder for it, as well as just its overarching responsibility for the locality, and then the state, and then the nation, etc., and then the world overall, as far as just the human population. So not everyone is going to just be excited about working with me. It's the reality of the situation, which is fine. But I still want to help put you, if I'm not your solution, I still want to try and help you find your solution. And I know a lot about the WordPress and Genesis community specifically. So I know a lot of solutions within that I can connect you with. I know a little bit about some of the other solutions, but honestly, I mean, if you're talking to me, I'm probably going to end up pointing you towards WordPress. Let's just be honest. Like, I found nothing that has been as impressive. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, there are a ton of crazy talented people working as WordPress developers and, you know, creating businesses within the WordPress ecosystem or environment or whatever. But at times they act like schoolgirls. I mean, let's face it, right? But it's something, but only because it's something that they take very, very seriously, right? So, I mean, they'll get up in arms over what you and I may consider kind of small things, right? But I mean, it's not to them, and I'm not by any means diminishing it. Like, these people are killer, and they have collaboratively put out this amazing product, WordPress. And yes, I use Rainmaker exclusively. That's it. And the reason is because I found a solution and I'm sticking with it because I'm not a developer. I never wanted to be a developer or a designer or a coder or a programmer, however you want to put it. I had to impersonate one for a long time because in order to cobble together my solution for me and for my clients, I had to fill in a lot of the blanks. It wasn't like, you know, developers were falling all over themselves to work with me. They're all well paid. Most of them have too much opportunity. So, you know, I come in with a great idea. They don't care because A, they don't know me. B, it's not like I'm throwing a bunch of money at them while I'm, you know, making the offer. Right. So it forced me to learn a lot of other things, but that was the beauty of Rainmaker, was that all that went away. It is WordPress, Rainmaker's WordPress, but it's a highly customized version of WordPress, which is fantastic because, you know, it is open source and it's built exclusively on open source. However, you know, obviously they've simplified the interface. I think they made it a bit more powerful while they were at it. And it's not to say that you can't do everything and then some with WordPress that you can do with Rainmaker. But it is to say that for me and my personal goals as a business person, Rainmaker's perfect because I don't deal with all of the technical stuff. Here's the thing to keep in mind. You can cook a meal where you go out and literally source every single piece of that meal. So the protein or, you know, the meat or whatever, and then the different vegetables that you're going to use and all the spices that you're going to use. And obviously, you know, maybe you want to use some from different areas or different lands or whatever. So you're going to have to go out and source them and bring them back. Right. And then you have carte blanche. I mean, there are no real limitations as far as that outside of your travel budget and all that. Right. But I mean, as far as you can go get whatever you want, bring it back and cook it. WordPress reminds me of that. In as much as you can literally do anything you want with it. That's the problem. You can literally do anything you want with it, but you can do it 15 different ways, every single thing. There are so many permutations, so many possibilities. There are thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of plugins, and they all are, you know, I can't say all, most of them are amazing, right? And you have different, really smart people, really strong teams in WordPress that are tackling similar problems. So, you know, an example being Easy Digital Downloads. Pippin Williamson is the man, right? He's like 6 years old, drives me crazy, like super successful, super kick-ass guy. However, he's not the only one that's approaching that solution. Now, don't get me wrong, each of the others, they're approaching it a little bit differently, but if you're going to look at it, there's 4 or 5 different options with very valid reasons why they could be the proper solution for you. And I went through and evaluated all of them, and it was just, I mean, I personally stuck with, went with Easy Digital Downloads across the board. However, it took a lot of time and a lot of effort for me to confidently come to that conclusion, because I knew nothing about anything when it first started, when I first started evaluating. So there was a ton of research. There was reading a ton of reviews, a lot of actual action where I was, testing things myself. Because, let's face it, just because somebody else had an issue, it doesn't mean that you're going to have the issue, but it could mean that, you, or in this instance, I don't have any trouble with what this person had a problem with, and I read a review or whatever, a blog post about, or whatever, about a certain product. But then I could have like 7 other issues that come up because I just didn't know the same stuff that they did, right? And it's just, all of that is busy work at the end of the day. I'm 7 years into my business. I have zero or minimal audience. I think, honestly, I'm up at like 8 email subscribers right now. And I've been busting my butt. And, I've been busting my butt for years, but I've been really focusing for, what is it, month now? 6 weeks at the most, probably more like a month, where I've really been focusing on my audience. I'm up to 8. Whew. But it is progress. And more importantly, I'm not at 1,000 or 15,000 or whatever. And the number doesn't show a ton of dramatic improvement. 8, right? But the improvement's dramatic. I mean, there literally is no other way around it. Like, it's going to catch up at some point, because more people are going to become aware of what I'm doing, and a subset of them are going to be interested in it. And here's the thing, I'm going to be prepared when they do become interested, to where it's not like a one-time thing. Oh, they stopped in, they read something, they liked it, they rolled. It's more, they were introduced to me, and we started a relationship, a long-term relationship between me and that one customer, and then me and that other one customer, to identify if I can be helpful to them. And if I can, and that's education. I'm educating them whether or not I can be helpful by answering their questions, by, giving them some information to base their decision on, because that's really all that it boils down to is, I'm not here to, and none of my customers that I work with are trying to talk you into anything. It really boils down to educating your decision. And that is what the customer experience path actually does. The customer experience path allows you to start educating that person when they don't know you, to introduce yourself to them. But then you set what they call, as far as the copy blogger media folks have called in the past, content conveyor belt, which makes total sense. Like, they're, moving them along a conveyor belt, right? I call it a customer experience path because I like to bring up customer experience with every single person that I talk to, because most of them have no earthly idea how to evaluate or structure or set up their customer experience on their website. Because when they set up their website, for the most part, and I was this way for years, I'm in no way denigrating anyone that does it this way. I'm saying I feel you, and it's a mistake, so don't do this. But, I've structured everything around me. What can I do? What do I want to put? What pages do I want to create? What blog posts do I want to put out? And that was the wrong viewpoint, because it has to come from the customer, because everything I'm doing is for them. So the customer experience has to be, in my estimation, has to be the first thing that you think of. You have to, when you're dealing with your website, it's not about putting all these pages on your navigation bar. It's not about having your 16 different areas on your homepage that you fill with all this stuff. It's, what does your customer want and need at this point? Then what do they need and want at the next point, and then the next point, and then the next point, right? Because it's not that they're just banging their head, kind of running into your website, right? It doesn't work. Like, they're looking for something. They're not just, they don't have a ton of time just to kind of play around on your site. That's not how it works. They're there to accomplish a goal. They're looking for help with this problem that's important to them. So I have finally finished this episode, and Fly. Oh, I hate flies. They get in here. It just drives me crazy. All right. So I will see you tomorrow. If you have questions, Jason at jasonhobbsllc.com. I'm getting my website fixed to where there's going to be a prominent area with a contact form, which just emails that same email address, but it's where you can go and set up and ask me a question, and I'll make sure that I get you an answer. So I appreciate you taking the time. Hopefully I will see you tomorrow or next Monday at 8:30 a.m., but it's 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. I'm here to answer your questions, and that's just what it's all about. So I'm Jason Hobbs. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great one. Seriously, kick some butt today. I'm serious. I'm gonna. Don't make me outdo you. See you tomorrow. Have a good one.